Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for just giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. You know, it's interesting when I put that question out there on social media. I think I actually just did it from my own, maybe Facebook page, I'm not sure. But when I put it out there, I realized I was really setting myself up to feel terrible as a mom that day or comforted, you know? And gosh, you guys were so great. I actually did. I felt like, you know what? I'm not alone. And the best part for me was it was moms of all ages and stages. So moms whose kids were grown and out of the house, and moms who are getting up at 3 a.m. with a newborn. I'm so glad that's not me. And it was great, and I appreciate you being so real because I struggle a lot with some stuff as a mom. And I think that we all do. You know what? Even if you're not a mom today, here, your dad, you're a student, you're single, whatever, I think that we all kind of just feel that way about life sometimes, right? We wonder those questions. Am I enough for anything? You know, do I do enough? Am I doing this right? We question that. You know, if you're a student, you're thinking, am I making the right choices? Am I doing the right things? Am I doing this right? Am I worth it? Am I enough? And I know that I feel that way every day, but I especially feel it in my role as a mom. And so I kind of want to just like have a confessions of a pastor's wife, right? That I'm going to keep it real. That is something I promise you'll get here at Wellspring. We are real. Trey and I are just two adults. It really feels weird to be an adult, but two adults who are trying their best to live their life and love God and tell you about it. So I'm just going to kind of have some confessions of a pastor's wife today, and I have to confess that I am not at all confident in my ability to raise 3 human beings that will actually grow up and be able to function in the world, right? I have to confess that I can't even get them to remember to turn on the light, walk to the bathroom, and aim in one spot when they go to the bathroom. Seriously, I can't even get them to do that. I do not feel confident at all in my ability to raise 3 people, 3 amazingly precious boys, to go out into this world and survive. This is not a preacher story. I know Trey says that all the time. We have great stories. Jacob, my sweet Jacob. We have 3 boys, 9, 7, and 4. Yesterday, I was at home, and this just kind of articulates the whole gap, like the whole I don't feel confident in my ability to be a good parent sometimes. Well, we were at home, and I was probably kind of stewing over the fact that I don't feel confident in my ability to stand up here and actually express to you what I feel like God's done in my life, right? So I was at home. We were busy. I was doing some stuff around the house. We were just having a fun Saturday in the rain, and I heard the PlayStation on. Everyone else was in the den, but I thought Jacob was downstairs. And I don't know how long it was before I thought, I should go check and see if he's really down there. I go down there, there's no Jacob. I look outside. We just got brand new neighbors that I have met once. They're not even completely moved in yet. I see his bike in their driveway. 30, 45 minutes, he's been hanging out with the new neighbors that we don't even know. I do not feel confident in my ability to raise another human being to even see what he calls a whole hand. He'll be 5 in August. I'll be a whole hand. You know, I feel the gap. I feel that gap in what I think I should be able to do as a parent, as a mom, and what I am actually able to do. Oh, and it stinks. I hate feeling like a terrible mom. I just do. You know, and sometimes when I feel like a terrible mom, I'm not doing right, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough, it makes me do some crazy things. I call it crazy mom mode. Okay, so this is another confession part, and even if you think I am absolutely crazy, just nod along. If you're not a parent yet, you can remember this, and one day you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember when she said she did this, right? But when I feel that gap, when I feel insecure in my role as a mom, when I feel like I am not confident in my ability to actually do this thing, right? I do things like really try to make everything just right. I call it the fix-it, right? I'm the fix-it mama, you know? I want to carve the path, make sure everything is just right for everybody. I want to fix it all. I don't want you to hurt. I don't want you to feel pain, you know? And I'm trying to do this, and guess what? I can't fix everything. And I feel that gap, right? Or sometimes I can get really controlling, you know? That's hard when your kids are going through another stage of life and we're not even up to 10 yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this already, you know? So it's like, oh, I feel that gap. I feel that inability to do what I feel like I should. Sometimes that creates crazy mama mode where I just completely ignore my husband, my marriage. Seriously. He's like, hello, I'm here, you know? I will completely just overlook that incredible gift that God's given me because I'm so fixed on me making sure I'm filling that gap and doing it all right. Yeah? Sometimes I look at other people and think, if I did that, I'd be the best mom. Yoga on Instagram, like if I could be the yoga mama, I would have it all together, right? Or when I worked full-time, if I could just stay home. And let me tell you, I stayed home, and now I work full-time. But in all honesty, and I hope you hear this, I've worked full-time, part-time, I've stayed home. Neither one of those scenarios made me feel confident in my ability to be a good mom. I doubted myself in everything, and honestly, when I stayed home, I doubted myself more because I felt like I had no excuse. I should be the perfect mom. Get it together, lady. You know? I did. And it's an awful feeling. And sometimes crazy mom mode, that insecurity from filling the gap, the crazy mom mode turns into what I like to call crazy mama drama. And y'all know you've seen this, right? The crazy mama drama. It's like a step further, and it's so ugly. Oh, I hate when I do this. But when I start to get jealous of other moms or other things they're doing, yeah, or I get manipulative in my parenting and what I say, and it's all in an effort to fill that gap I know is there between what I think I should be doing and what I am actually able to do. And so if you are tracking with me and you get that about life or about motherhood, I want you to know that I've learned this past year, I think it's actually a good thing that we feel that way. Now, it might not be great, some of the things that come out of it. It definitely takes me out of the sweet spot for what God wants me to do as a mom, as a parent. But I think it's actually a really good thing that we don't feel like we are confident in our ability to raise another person on our own. We don't like that feeling of insecurity because we feel like insecurity is saying, you're not enough. You're incompetent. You can't do this, right? But what we actually need to look at is that insecurity, we see it as a sign of incompetence when it's actually a sign of incompleteness. I'm trying to perfect my role as mom, and when I feel insecure about it, I think, oh my gosh, you're so incompetent. Get it together. But it's not incompetent. We are incomplete. That gap we're talking about is there because there's only one person who can fill it, and that's God. That gap is there. When we feel that insecurity, that trigger, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this. It's our cue. Run. Run. Run to the person who says, I didn't give you the role of mom to perfect it. I gave you the role of mom to partner with me and realize how much you need me in this. It's a big job. You can lose a kid. There was God and his grace. God's grace was missing from my life. That's what he likes to fill in that spot where we feel so insecure, where we don't feel like we're good enough. It's his grace. So more confession. They don't give you a class as a pastor's wife on making sure you completely understand all the really important things about God before you go marry a pastor and start a church. And I am not sure I've spent most of my life getting grace. I can define it. Let's look at what it means. Grace is God's kindness and love shown to us even though we do not deserve them. It's his kindness and love shown to us even though we do not deserve them. And I see that. I know that. But let me tell you the part that I fixate on, the part that I remember the most. I don't deserve it. That's the part I hear. I know God's loving. I know he's kind, but I don't deserve it. And the reason I always hear that part louder than the love and the kindness is because I fill that gap. I feel it. I know it's there, and when you're already down, you can't look at that and see what this actually means, what God's grace lived out in your life actually means. His love and kindness never changes, no matter what. If you lose a kid, if they never learn to come in from outside to use the restroom, if you only feed them junk food and nothing organic, God's love and kindness doesn't change. It doesn't change. Now, if you hear it that way, the way it changes you. Because what that did for me, at least, was make me want to run to him to fill that gap. Remember the trigger? I'm insecure. I'm not incompetent. I'm incomplete. Who makes me incomplete? God and his grace. Because it is a love that chases you no matter where you are. And especially in the role of being a mom. Because it is a daily reminder that we need God's grace, right? It is, and you know, the perfect story that I see this illustrated in the Bible, of course, comes from Paul. I know my husband talks about Paul a lot here, but I just love the picture that Paul has of, living. He's changed by God. He's living his life. Jesus is our model, but Paul just kind of shows us through his letters to other churches how we can live this out, how we live out God's grace. And I love in 2 Corinthians 12:9 is where we can start with this today. Paul says, each time, it's how he begins this story. See, in this verse, Paul is actually talking to a group of people and explaining to them that he has something in his life that is causing him some pain, that is causing him to doubt, that is causing him to feel like he's not equipped to do it. He's not equipped to handle it, right? He calls it a thorn. He's saying each time, which says to me, he's about to talk to God about this, each time, over and over, all during the day. Maybe he lived with a toddler, and he realized, you know what? I'm not equipped for this. Or a three-nager, that's my favorite. The threes were the worst age for us. It was so hard, right? It's a teenager, a 3-year-old who thinks they're a teenager, you know? Or maybe you are living with a teenager. Yeah? And we love you, teens. I know you're in the room. We're so glad. And you teach us a lot about relying on God, and we appreciate that. So each time, Paul recognized, I feel the insecurity, and each time he runs to God. He runs to Jesus, and this is what Jesus says. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. You may have heard that verse before, but think about that from the standpoint of how you feel every day about those things that make you feel like you aren't equipped to do it. like raising kids. Oh my goodness, I'm insecure. I can't do this. I feel incompetent. That's not it. I'm incomplete. God completes me, and when I ask him to partner with me in this, that is not up to my perfection. It is partnering with him. It is bringing him in. It is remembering that at every little moment he gives me his grace. No matter what I've done, it's there. And here's the best part about this grace, when you really get how it's supposed to sound, how God would want you to hear it, that nothing changes about his love for you, that he looks at you the same every day, whether you are the best mom or you made a lot of mistakes. Continue to run to him and that he completes you. The best part about when we really think about his grace and everything, what Paul says next, and this was the turning point for me. I get it. Okay, God, I no longer hear grace kind of like my 5th grade teacher who just caught me with chewing gum and is giving me a pass. Can you have gum in school anymore? We could never have gum in school. Is that still the case? Okay, so in school, we would get in trouble. My 5th grade teacher, I'm a people pleaser. I love Miss Adams. She was a great teacher. One day, she caught me with gum, and I was mortified. I was like, oh, no. She's like, this time you get a pass. This time, okay, right? That's not God's grace. It's never ending. It's always chasing. And whenever that changed in my heart, when that changed in my life, look at what Paul says next. This is what happened to me too. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. I can boast about it. Do you know what that means? He can be confident. In my house, we like to call it Godfidence, but because we have Christ, we have God, we have everything we need, we can be Godfident, right, David? Yep, in everything, because he's going to supply us everything we need in that moment. No, I don't feel like I can trust and be confident in my ability to raise the person. I'm going to mess it up. I invite God in because I'm not incompetent, I'm incomplete. He completes me. His grace covers me. It's never ending, and in that, I can be confident that he is going to equip me to be the exact mom my kids need, no matter what the situation, no matter what the age, no matter if they are grown and you're having trouble watching your grown kids struggle through something. No matter what, God has equipped you to be the perfect leader for that person in your life. And that will not change. So the confidence that you can walk with is that in my weakness, God will fill the gap. And that's changed for me because it's gone from, oh, poor me, I think as a mom, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I feel that way on the internal, but I stop it, right? It's my trigger. I'm not insecure. I'm insecure. I'm not incompetent. I'm incomplete. I run to God. And it's really, really changed how I parent, how I live my life. One of the ways is like now when my children no longer ever have clean clothes that are dry, put away. Y'all know I have laundry issues. If you follow me on social media or you've been around long enough, I stink at laundry, okay? Confession. You know what? I've named my laundry room the Grace Room. It is teaching my children that mama isn't perfect, that God will fill the gaps, and they need to learn how to fold some clothes. Yeah? It is teaching the responsibility, right? It means if you don't know how to handle the next step in your kid's life, if you don't know how to handle the fact that they got their feelings hurt by someone and you just want to go out and bust them in the chops because that's what mama bears do, right? You can step back and you can say, God, I see that. I don't want them to hurt. But I know that you're going to fill the gap in my life. And here's the best part. What you're doing is you're showing your kids that no matter what, God can be trusted. You're actually giving them the best gift. I have a friend who I pay to be my friend. She's my coach or counselor. It's a great investment, by the way, if you kind of feel stuck in life. You don't kind of, It's a great investment to do that. But I pay Fran to be my friend. And I was talking to her one day about all the struggles that I was having as a mom. I was feeling this. The video was talking, am I enough? I don't feel like enough. I don't know what to do. Really, 3 boys. I like things to be neat and tidy, and I have 3 boys. This is driving me crazy, you know. And I went to her with a lot of my struggles I was having, and I thought she was going to give me the answer I pay her to give me, which was, oh, it's okay. You're going to be fine. It's no big deal. They'll survive. Maybe, you know. And she actually gave me a piece of advice that was part crushing and pressure and part some of the best parenting advice I've ever given. She said to me, she's like, you know what? I'm so glad you take so seriously your role as a mom because you are the first model of God's character to your children. I'm pretty sure I just sat there for a minute, made a joke, finished the phone call early, and moved on because I was like, whoa, that's scary. No wonder I feel inadequate. Yeah? No wonder I feel like, oh, I can't do this. But the more I thought about what God had been doing in my heart about changing how I view his grace, I realized that this is kind of what Brian was talking about when we live our life that way. When we live our life saying, you know what, I'm going to have confidence that you have equipped me, God, because you're with me and you complete me. And I am hopefully showing my kids the one thing they're actually going to need to make it in this world, which is that no matter what, God loves them and he's with them. And I'm showing them that his grace is the first part of character. It's the part of his character that they're going to see. I hope I'm modeling that for them. And the only way I can do that is if I get it myself. I hope that whenever I pause and I say, God, enter in this gap for me, fill it with grace, your grace. I am 100% saying to my children, it doesn't matter what you face. God is going to cover you, and he loves you. I'm so thankful that he does that he fills our gaps like that for us. As we kind of close today and I'm wrapping up a little bit, I wanted to do a couple of things. One, I think you've heard from my confession that I've spent many years and still do every day. I mean, hello, I lost a kid yesterday, messing things up. But I kind of wanted you to see a picture of what it's like whenever I do remember this. And not that I get it right, but that I pull God in so close that I'm showing them his character. It changes those moments where I want to just hang them by their toes. Why am I having to teach you this again, right? Like for me, the 5-minute car ride. David, I'm so sorry about this, but you need to learn this. I've talked to you about it. The 5-minute car ride between school and home, I'm like, could you just not hit each other for 5 minutes? You know, when we get home, go at it. I won't be around, but just 5 minutes. I'm trying to drive a car, you know? And I often lose my cool in those 5 minutes. Of course, they haven't been with me for like 7 hours, and I'm like, welcome home, boys, blah, you know? I scream at you, yeah? And so the other day, they did it again. I had to send them to their rooms as soon as we got home. No hug, no snack. Get to your room, you know? I was able to pause and remember what God does for me when I continually make the same mistake over and over. His grace fills that gap. And so when I went to talk to my son who has the most problem with not using his words and only his fist, I went to him and I said, hey, you know what, buddy? You can't do this. You're going to end up in jail if you don't stop one day. But you can't do this alone. You're going to have to ask God to help you. You're going to have to remember that Jesus loves you, and he wants you to remember that you love your brother, and you don't need to sock him every time he makes you angry. see how God is present in that moment? I was not confident in my ability to go talk to him without wanting to just lose it. I stopped. God reminded me of his grace for me, and I was able to extend that grace to my son and point him to the one person who will be enough for him for the rest of his life, because I won't alone. The part where I'm raising my kids, I partner with God. He does equip me. I don't always get it right, but he'll equip me. But God's love and his grace will never extend past what my children need, ever. He'll always be there. One other way that grace has really changed is whenever we kind of have to give out consequences in our house. You know, it's kind of hard to think about, oh, grace means your kids just do whatever, you know. And we don't have a ton of rules in our house. You know, some hardcore ones that are there, but not a ton. A couple weeks ago, one of my kids, which is very uncharacteristic of this child, he was intentionally unkind. And we had to dole out absolutely 100% the worst consequence that he's ever endured. It was a tough one. A whole week inside. School and home, nothing else. And all the mamas who are at home with your child for a whole week when there's no outside and there's nothing else, just like, why'd you punish yourself? Like, what in the world? You know? I actually enjoyed the quality time with him. But anyway, we rolled out the consequences. We talked to him about it. And he had to stay downstairs in his room for like another hour and a half or something like that. Anyway, when it was dinner time, he came running up the stairs. So glad to be out of prison. And I could tell from the look in his eyes, he was looking at me. He was looking at his dad to think, are they angry with me? Are they upset with me? But because we were able to talk to him in that place that's filled with grace, we remember what God's done for us. We hugged him, we sat down, we had dinner, and the look in his eyes of acceptance that we loved him no matter what hopefully allowed him just a small picture of how God feels about him and about you and about me. That it never, ever, ever changes. And I have to tell you, I've spent years trying to create the perfect environment for my children to know that I love them. I've been trying to create the perfect circumstance, the perfect family night, the perfect all of it. But unconditional love and grace in a moment where he felt like he'd messed up, bridged the gap, and made the trust so strong, more than anything I could have ever done in my own strength and my own power. And it's not because of me and my ability. I'm certainly not confident of that, but I am confident that God's equipped me and that he will be with me just like he'll be with you. So today, as we leave, as we wrap up, I always like to give our moms a little gift before they leave. And today we have these bracelets for you that say grace. Actually, they're really big bracelets, and I did that on purpose. Because this is a big part that you can't miss. Grace has got to be what stares you in the face every day when you're doing this really important, difficult thing of being a mom. It's got to be what greets you first thing, and when you want to quit at 7 a.m. and you still have the rest of the day, God's grace is going to equip you. And it's okay to take a nap. I do that, by the way. 15 minutes in that transition when we get out of the horrible car ride. 15 minutes, I don't always sleep, but I try to just sit for a minute and pray and ask God to equip me for what I need to do that afternoon. So grab a bracelet on your way out, and we're going to wrap up today with Amazing Grace. We just have to sing it. And I pray today that for some of you, you start to really understand what God's grace is and how he wants to fill your life with it. And that he completes you and he sees you as amazing every single day. As blameless and pure and amazing every day, no matter what. So let's pray and then we'll sing together. God, we just thank you. We thank you that you just chase us, Lord, that you just desire to know every bit of our heart. We thank you that you just wrap us in your grace every day. When we know we're not confident in our ability to be the best mom, that you fill the gap for us, Lord, that you cover it. And in the ways that we may not meet what we think is right, Lord, that you will use it for good, and you will use it to draw our children to you. I pray for them, God. I pray for our kids. I pray that they know more than anything that you love them and that your grace is there for them, and that we model that for them, Lord, not as like rules and regulations, but as a desperate need for Jesus in our life. We thank you for that. God, I just pray that when we leave here today, we all understand that your grace covers us and your love is never ending. Thank you so much for that. Amen.
What? I know how to swim.
It's not about what you know, it's about what you do.